All right, we're gonna go live. So keep muting your mic. I'll let you know until I introduce you. How's it going, everyone? Joe Basrawi here. So excited to be here right now. Just checking my microphone. My microphone sounds good. Let me know in the chat if I sound okay. We have a very, very special guest tonight. Josh Aminov will be coming in pretty soon. In a minute, I just want to go ahead and let you guys know thank you for joining in today. And I really do appreciate all the support that you're giving. And things are looking pretty good in the future. Just want to quickly announce I will be at Student Action Summit next week, December 19th through 22nd in West Palm Beach, Florida. Really excited. This is my second time going to SAS, and it's going to be a great time. I will be doing a meetup at the Influencer Lounge. All the information is on my Instagram. Please go ahead and follow me at Joe Basrawi. Now, tonight's show is going to be really interesting. We had President Donald Trump do something really, really interesting for the Jewish community. And I said my mic is super off. Yeah, it's going to be echoey. Let me go ahead and try to maybe lower the gain a little bit. Things should be better now. All right, thank you, Danielle. So, yeah, it's going to be echoey because, like I said before, this is I'm in the living room right now in my apartment, so it's going to be very, very bad quality for now until I finish up the studio. Hopefully we'll be next year in January. So we should be good. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about Josh. Josh is a great friend of mine, Josh Aminov, great friend of mine. He is Jewish, he is conservative, he's from the great state, well, I don't know if I'm going to say great state, but in a pretty decent-ish state called New Jersey. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him in right about, oh my gosh, where is it? There it is. All right. Oh, looking like we're having some issues here. Hold on. All right, Josh.
Hey, Joe. How's it going?
It's going, man. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, man.
Thanks for having me on.
We are glad to have you, man. And let's just get right into it. Donald Trump signs this executive order. This executive order is seen by a lot of left-leaning Jews to be anti-Semitic. On the right side of things, it seems to be very pro-Israel, very pro-Jew, pro-faith is what I've heard a lot too. What are your opinions on it?
Well, my opinion is really a straightforward one. I just really want to ask the leftists that are saying that this is controversial. Since when is it controversial to support stopping discrimination against Jews? What is the rationale behind that?
I agree with you. I think that it's this is a very interesting one because I think this executive order is one of the more misunderstood executive orders that Trump has put out, because we're seeing that is perceived anti-Semitic when on one side, on the other side seems to be not anti-Semitic whatsoever. Actually, if anything, protecting Jewish people on college campuses. Now, if you guys don't really know much about the executive order that Trump signed and enacted, I believe it was yesterday, it had to do with protecting Jews from anti-Semitism on college campuses. It was a big focus on college campuses, and pretty much saying that if the university doesn't do anything about said anti-Semitism, federal funding will get pulled away from that university. And I think that it's something that is much needed. It's something that we see that that sort of protections are across many other minorities. And I would have to say, and I think Josh will agree with me, and maybe some people in the chat will agree with me, that anti-Semitism is on a rise. Anti-Semitism is on a rise, and it's specifically really, really hitting college campuses. I mean, I'm not in college, right now, but I have noticed when I was in college that there was a massive rise on anti-Semitism. A lot of people say rather, that no, they're just not pro-Israel. So what are your thoughts on that when it comes to distinguishing anti-Israel rhetoric to anti-Semitic rhetoric? How do you distinguish that?
So I think people who try to distinguish anti-Israel rhetoric from anti-Semitic rhetoric, who genuinely think that there is a distinction, I think they're doing a disservice to themselves, because they think that they're standing for justice, yet at the same time they're disregarding the connection between the land of Israel and the Jewish people. That's number one. Number two, any attack against Israel is anti-Semitic, in my opinion, at least, because it's the only Jewish state in the world. Now, you can have your fair criticisms about maybe how Israel runs its country. That's one thing, but to vehemently stand against the sovereignty of the state of Israel, and boycott it, as an example, through boycotting them, the BDS movement, that is blatantly anti-Semitic, in my opinion, and that's what they're pushing on college campuses. I heard recently, I forget the name of the school, but a school banned the sale of Sabra hummus on their campus because of BDS. Yeah, they tried to, and this has happened before. And there's been many similar instances on many college campuses. This whole effort for BDS, and I don't see how that helps anyone, because it's not only going to hurt Israel, but it doesn't help the consumer abroad either. It doesn't really accomplish anything. It's just hurting the sovereignty of Israel through economic hardships. I don't know how that helps anyone, but I'd love to hear a leftist explain that.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing I've also noticed is going outside the United States. We see in Europe that they're making a requirement of any Israeli products to have some sort of stamp on it, some sort of sign on it, so that people who want to boycott Israel are able to. So Europe, anti-Semitism is on a whole different level than is here. We're just trying to prevent that from happening here in the United States. One thing I really, really want to look at is we're seeing places like University of Central Florida and as well as ASU both had anti-Semitic attacks on their Chabads quite recently this semester, where there were it was a couple different stickers, and one of them said love not hate, and in love it had a swastika instead of an O, and in hate instead of I believe instead of an A it was a Star of David, Magen David. So we're seeing this is happening on college campuses every day. It's not just anti-Israel rhetoric, it's anti-Jew rhetoric. And it's something that I don't think administrations across the country are truly taking seriously. I want to know your thoughts on that.
No, you're absolutely right. It's not being taken as seriously as it should. I really don't. I think that if we're going to fight to stop this disservice to standing against Israel, standing against anti-Semitism, the way to do that is to start understanding history. I think there's a lack of understanding of history. It all starts really going back to the land of Israel. Who does it belong to? Because at the end of the day, every criticism of Israel is then directed towards any Jewish population in any country, in any part of the any part of the world, whether it be in the United States, in Europe. So it really just goes back to understanding Israel. Where do they stand in history? And to this day, people dispute that it doesn't belong to the Jewish people, which I think is absurd. And then that's what leads to a lot of anti-Semitic rhetoric abroad, because there will be people, Jewish and non-Jewish, standing for the right of Jewish people to be the ones who control the state of Israel.
Yeah, no, I agree. And when I was in Israel earlier this year, in the summer, the group I was with, we met up with the guy named Natan Sharansky. Josh, do you know who Natan Sharansky is?
Yes.
Okay, so
he was in the Soviet Union, and he wanted to go to Israel, and they wouldn't let him, and they even sent him to a labor camp, if not mistaken. And
yeah.
Then from there, it became a whole controversy, and then they eventually let him go to Israel after it got a lot of publicity.
Right. Yeah. So Natan Sharansky wrote a great book, and he also within this book I can't exactly remember the name of it, unfortunately, but in this book he talked about anti-Semitism and how to distinguish anti-Semitism rhetoric, anti-Semitic rhetoric, to anti-Israeli rhetoric, and the way that you're able to distinguish the two is something called the 3D test. So the 3D test is, I believe it was double standard. If there's a double standard involved, it is anti-Semitic. If it's demonization, it is anti-Semitic. Demonizing Israel, it's anti-Semitic. And if it is delegitimatize, oh my God, I can't even talk right now. If it's delegitimatize, oh wow, Josh, I can't even say the word right now. It's
Delegitimization.
Yeah, delegitimization of the country of Israel, that is considered anti-Semitic. So when we look at a lot of people today on, you can even say BDS, you can even say the far right. You know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the far right. I think a couple of them are in the chat right now saying some stupid stuff. But anyways, those people, they focus on Israel for certain things, but they refuse to say the same thing about other countries. That's a double standard. As well as saying that the Jews and Israelis or whatever are buying the government. They are buying media. They are buying everything. All of that sort of rhetoric is explicitly anti-Semitic, absolutely anti-Semitic. I mean, I've been called, even in the chat right now, they asked me, are you Mossad? So using that sort of rhetoric is anti-Semitic. Now, am I offended by it? No, not at all, because I don't really get offended easily, to be quite honest with you. But when it comes to the rhetoric, what they're saying, is it morally wrong? Yes. Am I getting offended? No, not really. I've been tweeted at. I've had comments on my Instagram, and even on the live stream here, saying the nastiest things to me. It's not going to hurt my feelings, and that's one thing I think Jews need to realize. The Jewish community really needs to realize, and that's we need to I don't want to say not get offended, but we need to stay strong and understand that a lot of the world hates us. That it's, for thousands of years, we have been killed, persecuted, dragged out of our own country and our own communities. And this happens, I have a theory that the Jews will get prosecuted in a mass, have some sort of mass prosecution every 100 years. Because if you look in time, every 100 years it seems to be something happens to the Jewish people. So I wouldn't be surprised if something would happen again. I know we always say, never again, right? Just saying something isn't going to do anything. We need some sort of action, a call to action of exposing anti-Semitism, saying, no, this is wrong. We are humans. We have a life. We have a different lifestyle than most people. I mean, we're such a small population in the world. I don't know why people want to kill us and people want to murder us and absolutely want to destroy us and wipe us off of the face of the planet, like Hamas, Iran. But not only that, but we have far right people in the United States and in Europe. But it's one of those things where we need to stand up and fight for ourselves, because we know that there's not many people out there that are going to be staying right by us. And a guy in the comments, his name is Poophead, very mature, right? He says, I'm not allowed to use freedom of speech. Yes, you are. So this actual executive order, actually, I believe it's the last line in the executive order, saying that this will not infringe on the freedom of speech. So what we're talking about is explicit attacks towards Jews. So explicit attacks towards Jews, meaning something happened, I can't remember which university exactly, but there was an organization on campus that pretty much an anti-Israel organization. They went to the dormitories and they put eviction notices on the doors of the dormitories for specifically Jewish students. So they found mezuzahs on the wall, on the door, and they put eviction notices on it. That was explicitly towards Jews. If said administration weren't to do anything about it, then federal funding can be taken out or removed from that specific school. Now, these sort of protections have for many years been for African Americans, for Latinos, for other groups of people, the LGBT, but not for Jews. So this is actually a massive step forward onto protecting certain minorities. Now, I know I sound like a liberal because I very much am. I'm a big believer in you have the right to be a bigot. So that's something I think Barry Goldwater said. You have a right to be a bigot. You have a right to be a dick, right? But at the same time, we already have these laws for other minority classes. Might as well cover Jews as well. Why not? If you look at the FBI just recently put out a report saying that last year, the most hate crimes were done not towards African Americans, not towards Native Americans, not towards Latinos, not towards LGBT, but towards Jews. And we're seeing every single day. I mean, I have Jerusalem Post on my phone, and I get notifications almost every day of a new anti-Semitic attack. Not in Israel, in the United States. For some reason, always happening in New York, over in Brooklyn or Queens area. And it's growing. I don't think people really understand this, and it's something that we need to wake people up on.
Yeah. I mean, you were referencing to Brooklyn, New York specifically. You can look up on the internet. There's constant cases of these knockout games people are playing, just going around town, seeing sort of like amongst each other, competing as to who can knock out the most Jews on the streets, just by coming up to them, assaulting them, beating them up, and then running away.
Yeah.
And just like cowards, they're wearing masks while they're doing it, or hoodies over their heads. And it's disgusting. You know, someone's got to be able to say that enough is enough, and that this executive order was needed, and that we do need to stand strong against discrimination against Jews. And
let's understand.
I can't understand people like Poophead. I just can't.
Yeah, people like Poophead here. I mean, very, very mature username. But let's also understand that the recent shooting in Jersey City, right? I know you're in the awful state of New Jersey, but
it's so amazing.
I know that the Jersey shooting was actually done by a group called the Black Hebrew Israelites or something like that. And this was specifically targeted to a kosher market owned by Jews to kill Jews. You know what happened afterwards? The people blamed for the shooting? People are blaming, citizens, they're blaming the Jews for the shooting now.
Of course.
So they're blaming the Jews.
When is
for
not
shooting.
The Jews' fault?
Right? So we're seeing that the Black Hebrew Israelites is what they call themselves. By the way, explicitly anti-Semitic. They believe that the white Jews, right, is what they call them, the white Jews, aren't real Jews, that they're the real Jews. They go out to a kosher market, specifically targeting Jews, and now the Jews get the blame for it. How does that make sense? Josh, am I stupid?
No, not at all. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. People like to. It's just the world of insanity. People like to twist things upside down. There's no need to even elaborate upon that point. There's nothing to be said about that. That's just pure insanity. People have to start accepting the reality for what it is, and that's that Jews are being targeted. Well, they've been targeted throughout history, and sadly, it's probably going to keep happening. But we should at least applaud, the president for taking initiative to at least mitigate that as much as possible. And instead of that, leftists are going around, blaming conservatives, or you have those people that you just mentioned blaming the Jews in the community. Yep. It's just nonsense.
Yeah, we have some really interesting comments. They're spamming.
And by the way, I can't see the comments on my end. I'd love to hear what are they saying.
Go ahead, open up the stream. You can go ahead and check it out. All the comments are really interesting. They're spamming poop right now. But anyways, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, Trump is the most pro-America, pro-faith president we have ever seen. Period. He's protected. And a lot of people, probably in the comments are going to go like, no, he's bought by the Jews. No, Trump is not bought by the Jews. He's not bought by anyone. And you can't prove that he's been bought by the Jews. It's a stupid notion. If you're a pro-Trump, then you have to be pro this executive order as well. So let's see here. What are they saying here? Joe is.
Yeah, all of a sudden, I guess Trump is not America first.
Right. So, I do want to talk about something else, going a little off topic here. I do want to talk about Greta Thunberg, because why not? You heard that she won Time Person of the Year?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? My audio got cut off for a
Oh, there we go.
What was that?
I want to talk about Greta Thunberg for a minute.
Okay.
So, she won Time Person of the Year.
Yeah, yes, I did hear about that.
So,
what a waste of a choice.
do you know who was runner-up?
Who was runner-up?
Runner-up was the Hong Kong protesters.
They should have got first. That's absurd.
Precisely.
That's
so,
absurd.
I think it's absolutely hilarious and ridiculous to see that a 16-year-old girl who is promoting kids not to go to school to fight climate change got Person of the Year. She got Person of the Year over Hong Kong protesters that are fighting communist China for their freedoms. No, Greta Thunberg got it. What? I can't.
Well, Joe, I don't think you're being open-minded. Obviously, climate change is a bigger threat than communism. I mean,
right,
we've lived through communism at least, but we're not going to live through climate change.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I completely forgot. Communism is a good thing, and
if anything, communism will help us solve climate change. So they're actually hurting.
Of course.
So
this is
they
why
shouldn't have been second. They should have been like second to last.
We need to pass the Green New Deal because of this. Obviously, I mean, it's. Yeah. Let's get rid of planes. Let's get rid of cars. Let's get rid of everything. Like everyone should own a Prius or a Tesla, and no more planes whatsoever. We're going to be taking a boat everywhere. By the way, a boat. We're going to take a boat everywhere to travel to Europe or Hawaii or wherever you want to go. It's really interesting when you look at time. I mean. Let's be honest. Who is risking their life more? Hong Kong protesters or Greta Thunberg?
Greta Thunberg.
Oh, of course she is. Yeah, because she's sailing and the waves are so tough, right? So the Hong Kong protesters.
Well, okay, let me correct that. Hillary, Greta Thunberg, then Hong Kong.
Okay.
And Hong Kong being last of the whole list, not just those three.
Right. Hold on, sorry, just. Something came up here. All right, so on a serious note, though, we look at Time Magazine is obviously a very left-leaning outlet, honestly, it wasn't surprising they chose Greta Thunberg, but it's disappointing, highly disappointing for a news magazine that has a very, very long history and good reputation. Now the reputation has diminished tremendously after Time of the Year, Greta Thunberg. Over Hong Kong protesters. Over people that are actually making a change to help the earth. Right? There is a kid that at 16 years old, same age as Greta Thunberg, 16 years old, created a machine that would clean the oceans of plastic. He has not been recognized whatsoever. Greta Thunberg goes on a strike against her school, and she's praised for it. She is praised for whining, for bitching and moaning about the climate. That's all. If I knew I was going to get Time Person of the Year for skipping school and bitch and moan about something, I would have done it. Okay? So to understand this, Time Magazine obviously has a very low standard as to who should be the Person of the Year. And they have a very, very low standard as to essentially hard work. Because Greta Thunberg, all she's doing is she's going around the world on a boat and helping kids skip school. If I knew that was something worthwhile and worth recognition, I would have done it. I would have went to the nearest school in my neighborhood, near my house, and said, we're going to skip school today to fight, infringement on the Constitution to fight all this stuff. But no, the way it works is you have to be fighting something that liberals like. That liberals like. And you know what? I'm really surprised that, what's his name? David Hogg didn't get Time Person of the Year one time. I'm actually really surprised that didn't happen because he was pretty much doing the same thing. He was striking, he was protesting for against gun violence, and he was actually a victim of something. Greta Thunberg is not a victim. She claims we stole her childhood. How about Greta Thunberg goes to Venezuela or Africa or the Middle East and says that same exact phrase she said back in the UN, that you stole my childhood, to those kids in Venezuela, those kids in the Middle East, in Africa that have no food, no water, barely any shelter, no clean toilet paper, nothing. They have no reasonable, humane items to live. They have nothing. And she's saying, this white privileged girl from Sweden is saying you stole my childhood to a bunch of the world leaders in America. I think that's despicable. I think it's pathetic for someone to think that she is worth to even give any award whatsoever. We're just making her feel good, and it's just disgusting, man. I can just go off on this, honestly.
How dare you?
How dare you? You stole my childhood. Shut the hell up. No one wants to listen to you, Greta. Everyone hates you. They were going too tough. I mean, let's be honest. If Pamela Karlan can testify in front of Congress and go after 13-year-old Barron Trump, I should be able to go after 16-year-old Greta Thunberg. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, you have to check your Jewish privilege.
Oh yeah, I forgot I have privilege now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have my
and your male privilege.
Oh, I
and your
forgot.
straight
Male,
privilege.
straight, Jewish privilege. Oh, and I was born in America. English is. You know, I took one of those tests, one of those like privilege tests. So like some of the questions were: Are you straight? Are you a Christian? Were you born in America? Is English your first language? Do you have an accent? What's your income? And it turned out like I'm stupid privileged, although like my family went through the Holocaust and you know all those things. But like I'm insanely privileged apparently.
Yeah, that's the standard. Well, if the left doesn't have a standard, if the left doesn't have a double standard, then they have no standard, as I believe Charlie Kirk always says. So.
Well, it's true. I mean, you can see that the left standard is so low. And one thing, I mean, I really want to touch base on a little bit, and it has to do with people waking up. And what that is we're seeing President Trump is beating every single Democrat in polls right now. I know it's super early, but something worth to talk about in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I think that, and by the way, he's winning on an average of 6 points. A 6-point average, which is pretty damn good. But, I have to say, we're seeing the black approval rating on President Trump is 36% right now. 36%. The approval rating for Latinos is, I think, in high 20s. For women, high 40s. This president, he's going to win in a landslide. And you know what? I really do hope Joe Biden is a Democratic nominee. Because I think it'll be a massive, massive win for Trump. I think he would actually win in a landslide. Like, to be quite honest with you, I think Biden would only win, like, New York, California, obviously, Washington State, Oregon, and I don't know. Vermont. But everything else would be Trump. It would just be Trump country.
I think the reason that Trump has a victory lined up for himself is because people, all Americans, regardless of their race or background of any sort, all Americans are sick of being victims. No one wants to be a victim. They want to succeed. And Trump, even before his political career, he was always that figure of success. When someone heard the word Trump, the next thing I thought of was the word money. So now we have a president who represents that symbol, that feeling of success, and people are looking at him whether they're Republican or Democrat or whatever race they're like, all right, you know what? I'm sick of being a victim. I want to succeed. And this is why his support is up among all of those, minority groups that Republicans would typically never see support from. And it's very important to note that.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of people are waking up. Like, people in my family are saying that they're kind of excluding me from my own people simply because I support President Trump. I'm a Republican and I'm conservative, and they say I'm not Latino enough, I'm not Jewish enough because of my political views. And it's honestly, I mean, you see this happening in every single community, really, and I think you're noticing that those people are seeing the actions that the Democrats have been doing. They're seeing the left in action, and they're disgusted. They think it's pathetic. They think that it's just rude. It's rude. It's racist. And I don't throw that word around. I don't throw the word racist around. But by saying that if you're an African American or a Latino or Jewish, you need to be a liberal, left-leaning Democrat, progressive, whatever you want to call it, is racism. It is slavery of the mind. And I think we have a lot of people in these groups that are waking up, they are seeing what's happening to people, and they're disgusted. And they're saying, well, that's interesting. The people on the right, the Republicans that they've been calling racist the whole time, they are for open thought, free thinking, free mind, freedom of the individual. Whereas the Democrats, the left, and the liberals, the progressives, they're for controlling your life in every way, shape, and form. You say something that's slightly offensive, you're going to jail, you're getting a fine, you're getting fired, whatever. If you believe in something that's slightly right of center, you're a racist, bigot, Nazi, homophobe, transphobe, Islamophobe. I can go on. And I think people are waking up to this. People are actually noticing that the left is crazy. That the left is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. People are starting to notice that even, not just people in the middle that typically vote independent, but people on the left, not the ones who you would call leftists, but traditional liberals, blue collar Democrats. Those are the people who are the reason Trump won those states, the ones that you named earlier: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And they're sick of this. I mean, I like to reference to something that I noticed during my internship in Trenton for the New Jersey Republican Party there. One day I was driving to my internship. This was during the Senate campaign. We actually had someone who was considered a somewhat serious contender against Bob Menendez, Senate. And the Republican's name was Bob Hugin. And I was thinking to myself, what would possibly get people to vote for Bob Hugin over Menendez in such a blue state? And somehow that day, while I was thinking about that while I was driving there, and then I was sitting answering the phones, and this was during the whole Kavanaugh hearing crisis, and there were so many people calling our office, and I would pick up the phones on behalf of our office, and they would all tell me, listen, I've been a lifelong Democrat, I'm a liberal, but I am changing my registration to Republican. This is outrageous what the Senate Democrats are doing to this innocent man Kavanaugh. It's absurd. And they see this. Like, Americans aren't idiots. The people who are running the Democrat Party think they can get away with this blatantly. First of all, what they do won't work. Second, they're not fooling anyone. And that's also why they're going to lose the House come around this election in 2020. That's the reason we gained seats in the Senate, specifically during the last cycle, even though we lost the House. And it's not just about Kavanaugh. We look at what happened in the last 2 years. We've had the Russia investigation. Obviously, it was proven to be a hoax. Now they're doing it with Ukraine. For a brief second, it was even Australia. They tried to point out, making it look like there was something going on there. They're going to name every country down the list eventually. But people are seeing this. The House Democrats were elected, I believe, to investigate Trump. And now that that's proven to be false, they have nothing left to do. So they're trying to make up new investigations out of thin air. And when their time is their days are marked. Once 2020 comes around, people are going to remember this. What a waste of time they were. And they're going to kick those Democrats out of the House, and Republicans are going to take it over again in 2020.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you're saying. I mean, gosh, I can't remember exactly who said it. I'm going to say someone, I believe, from the Freedom Caucus in the House, when they were having their hearing today, or actually it was a debate today about impeachment. He said, all you're doing is, I believe it was Ken Buck, Representative Ken Buck. He said, all you're doing is you're making Trump more popular. He is soaring in the polls right now because of this impeachment hoax and sham. And we're seeing this constantly throughout many states in America. Big swing states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, we're seeing this happen. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong, because they have moved from topic to topic to topic. They can't even, like you said, they started with the Russian collusion. And after the Mueller report was released, it died off about 2 weeks after. Then they went to Ukraine. They went to, like you said, Australia, I believe. And they keep moving. They keep moving around because they have nothing on the president. They have absolutely nothing on the president. So when you look into it, when you see what they're doing, they're digging themselves a bigger hole. And I think Matt Gaetz said this, that during the Thanksgiving break, that all the people in the House and the Senate went home, they felt the heat from the people that the Democrats, they felt the heat from the people that they're representing. And it's true. We're noticing that a lot of people are not in favor of this impeachment. The approval rating of impeachment has dropped dramatically. It drops every day. And it's great for us, I'll tell you that. I mean, people are donating to the Trump campaign. They are supporting Trump every single day. You have Jonathan Turley, one of the professors from last week's hearing in the House, who is a Democrat, who supports Democratic policies, who doesn't like Trump, didn't vote for Trump in 2016, who said that the impeachment is a sham, it's a hoax, and it's wrong. You have the only, and people are seeing this, out of all the, quote, witnesses, and what Adam Schiff calls it, fact witnesses, only one of them actually ever spoke to Trump, whether it was on the phone, email, in person, etc. And it was Ambassador Sondland, and Sondland said that President Trump said, I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo. I want nothing. Ukraine got their money. Ukraine got their meeting. Ukraine got the phone call. And Trump got nothing out of it. I think that and I know Don Jr. says all the time, if President Trump went to China and brought his son Don Jr. along, just like how Biden brought his son Hunter to China, Hunter went to China for a week, came back with $1.5 billion. If Don Jr. were to go to China with his father and come back with $1.5, the media would be all over the place. There would be hearings, there would be impeachment, there would be everything because they have a case. But the moment that it's Joe Biden's son, it's Hunter Biden. By the way, where's Hunter? Right? Where's Hunter? Hunter's gone. He's off the media right now. The moment it's a Democrat, the moment that it is Joe Biden's son, it's fine. Right? Nancy Pelosi says we can't investigate Joe Biden because he's running for president. What? Well, Trump's running for president again. He's running for re-election. We can investigate him? How does that make sense?
He's a sitting president, too.
Exactly. So let's really break this down. Democrats have nothing. Democrats are going to be losing massive seats in swing districts across the country next year in 2020. I believe right now, the way things are right now, Trump will win in a landslide. Trump will most definitely win a landslide. He won Pennsylvania by a very small margin. I think he's going to win Pennsylvania, at least right now, by a very large margin. And same thing is going to happen in Florida. Same is going to happen in Michigan and in Wisconsin. And I would even say Ohio. I think Trump is going to gain some states. You know, I believe he's going to gain a couple states here and there, and he's going to sweep the floor with whomever he's going to run against. Whomever. whether it's Joe Biden, Pocahontas, Mayor Pete, whomever, Bernie Sanders, Crazy Bernie, he's going to sweep the floor with them because they have nothing, and the entire Democratic agenda is based on beating and impeaching Donald Trump. And it's known right now that the whole reason why they're doing this is because they know he's going to win next year. They've said it multiple times. Nancy Pelosi has said it. Jerry Nadler has said it. Adam Schiff has said it. And every single Democratic candidate, new and old, has said it. So we know the true intention of impeachment. We know why they're doing this. And guess what? I actually want them to continue. Why? Because it's helping Donald Trump. It's helping Republicans. Republicans are going to win big seats next year in the House, even bigger seats in the Senate, and win the White House once again. And I honestly, Josh, I don't know, tell me how you feel about this. I'm excited to see liberals cry again 2020.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to get my buckets ready this time around.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's after seeing 2016, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be a lot bigger in 2020 when they lose? Do you think it's going to be a much bigger protest?
Yeah, I think Trump is going to win bigger than he did last time, and they can't have that popular vote excuse this time. The Democrats are going to have nothing to explode. Their heads are going to explode because they won't have an excuse this time around. It's going to be a legitimate election that he won fairly, just as he did the last time. But they're not going to have the excuse, the convenient excuse of saying, "Oh, he didn't win the popular vote." He's going to win so big this time. They're going to wish that they didn't say anything because they're going to want to keep that electoral college in place. I think they're going to just end up protesting harder. They're just going to destroy their own cities in protest of the results. It's a shame how Democrats devolve to such an immature set of standards, the way they behave once they don't get what they want, not just on the political landscape in DC, but I'm talking about the people on the ground. After the last election, they were destroying their own cities. They were destroying businesses, throwing bricks through glass windows of businesses. They were just trashing everything, blocking roadways, just being complete disruptors. Like, what are you achieving? They were harassing the electors, the ones that would cast the votes to make the electoral college ballots official, saying, "How could you vote for Trump? Like, this is their constitutional duty. This isn't like an option." They don't understand. They can't even get a simple grasp on how our country's supposed to work, let alone our election system. And they're just going to keep crying no matter what. We shouldn't even focus on them. We have to focus on what's important. They focus on us because they know they have nothing better to worry about, but their opponents. But we have something better to focus on. That's about making this country better. We should give them as little attention as possible, in my opinion. Take them head on when they do attack us, but every other chance we get, avoid talking about them and focus about what's important, taking action, focusing on the issues that this country is facing, both domestically and abroad. We got serious players today. We got Iran building nukes, North Korea. I don't know where that's going. We have Russia, they're building up their military, and China, they're probably the greatest challenge our country has ever faced in its history. In some ways, arguably even a bigger threat than the Soviet Union was at when they were at their height. So we shouldn't waste our time, in my opinion, worrying about what the leftists think after they lose the next election, because they're going to always impeach the president as long as they don't get the candidate that they want. We should just assume that they're going to impeach every president moving forward. That's how we should think.
Honestly, I mean, we're seeing now that Democrats, and it's really funny. I mean, you do a little throwback on when Hillary Clinton was running and saying that she's afraid that President Trump will not take the outcome of the election seriously. When you look at Democrats today, they are trying to remake what happened. They're trying to change what happened in 2016. They're not happy with it. I think there was a tweet, I forgot from who it was, I believe some liberal reporter from some fake news source, obviously, saying, I think that if Hillary wins, if Trump wins, liberals will just be sad. But if Trump wins, Hillary supporters will just be sad. If Hillary wins, Trump supporters will be angry. Look what just happened. Look what's happening now. They are furious. They are angry. You have Rashida Tlaib, which I can go on about, to be honest. Rashida Tlaib says, we're going to impeach that mother effer. You have low IQ Maxine Waters saying impeach 45, impeach 45. You have Nancy Pelosi moving articles of impeachment without any evidence, any solid evidence. You have Adam Schiff going out and conducting these hearings, bringing on witnesses that have no base whatsoever, no basis on what's actually happening, all hearsay, no actual real evidence against the president, except for one, and that was Sondland. And Sondland said, Trump said, I want nothing, I want no quid pro quo. And I'm telling you this right now. Democrats have lost their mind. Well, they've lost their minds a long time ago. But right now, it's gone even worse. It's gone worse. What do they call it? Something around the line, some sort of sickness that they have. You know, Trump derangement syndrome or something like that. They are so deep in that, and I think that there is no cure, by the way, to the symptom. There is no cure. Because you're seeing. Well,
actually, I would argue the cure is reading the conscience of a conservative or any conservative.
Well, I would say reading the damn Constitution, because I mean these guys, they have no idea. I believe they've never read the Constitution. They don't even know what the Constitution is. They don't know the history of this country. Did you know that the first representatives in Congress were African American? They were all Republicans. All Republicans. Jim Crow, completely.
Fake news. Fake news.
Fake news, right? It's absolute fake news. No, I'm telling you the truth here. This is stuff.
You're listening to Fox News' propaganda, Joe.
This is stuff that you won't hear in school. You won't hear about it in universities. You won't hear about it on the news. You won't hear about it on the History Channel. You won't hear about it anywhere. First 7 black elected members of Congress. All Republicans. All Republicans. And you look, Jim Crow was voted out. The Civil Rights Act voted by a House and Senate majority Republican. The abolition of slavery was done by Republicans. Yesterday's executive order done by a Republican president, and his name is Donald Trump. The Republican Party and the conservative movement is the most pro-minority, most pro-individual freedom movement this country has ever seen, period. And I'm confident in that. I'm absolutely confident in that, to say that. I mean, what have Democrats done for their own, for Americans? What have they done? Absolutely nothing. Look, the best way to prove that point is go to Detroit, go to Philly, go to Trenton, go to Camden.
Trenton.
Yeah, go to Trenton, go to Camden, go to Newark, New York, go to LA, go to Compton. I can go on and on and on. They're all ran by Democrats, and these cities are in such bad condition. Such bad condition, the education system is failing Americans, ran by Democrats in these cities. Failing their own kids. We're failing our kids, people. We're failing our next generation of Americans because we're voting Democrat to run these big cities. We're voting Democrat to run these big cities, and we need to stop. We need to absolutely stop. Look at the crime rates in these massive cities. Most gun regulations are done in these large cities, all of them. All of them. High gun violence, high gun death, and, you guessed it, all ran by Democrats. If we continue, if this is kind of a message towards minorities, if you continue to vote Democrat, your life will not get any better. And I'm going to say the same thing Trump said. What the hell do you have to lose? You have absolutely nothing to lose. Just vote for the other guy. Vote for the other party for once, and you'll see your life is changing. You see, right now, Trump has been in office for 3 years. We've seen economic breakthroughs for all classes of people. We've never seen this before. We're in the strongest and the best economy we have ever seen in this country, and it's fantastic. It's actually working for every single American in this country. It's working for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is a millionaire because he wrote a good book. You should probably read it. That's what he told me, by the way, on Fox News earlier this year.
I do remember seeing that.
Yeah. Because I asked him, when are you gonna pay your fair share of taxes? Because he utilized the Trump tax cuts. When are you gonna pay your fair share in taxes, Bernie? He said, well, I wrote a good book. You should probably read it. BS. So you're telling me, you, a socialist, use capitalism for your own gain. And you're not going to... Did you know anyone...
He's fighting for a greater cause, Joe. He is right.
Oh, I'm sorry. What I'm saying is he explicitly used capitalism for his own gain. And anyone can actually pay more in taxes voluntarily. Anyone can. Why doesn't he? Why doesn't he put himself... he doesn't practice what he preaches, I'll tell you that. And in that question, when I talked about personal income tax, he went to talk about Amazon not paying any taxes. And he swerves out of the question, and every Democrat does this, right? Remember Elizabeth Warren, I have a plan. No plan has been put out. It's pathetic. It's pathetic to see what Democrats are doing. The 2020 candidates, I thought Hillary Clinton was a bad candidate, and she is, but I thought she would be the worst candidate. You look at every single 2020 candidate, for God's sakes, their top runner, Joe Biden, is a creep. Talking about his wet, hairy legs, biting his wife's finger, and sniffing little girls. Jesus, why can't people see this? Democrats have a big, and the left and liberals, they have a big thing against, when it comes to consent. I don't think Joe Biden has ever asked for consent to go ahead and sniff people's heads and kiss little girls on the cheek, having kids touch his wet, hairy legs in the pool, or even bite his wife's finger. It's hypocritical. It's the modern day Democratic Party, people. That's what it is. Modern day Democratic Party. And I'll tell you this. Trump will win in 2020, next year. And Republicans are going to bring back the House. Mark my words.
Amen.
Right? Well, Josh, listen, we're out of time right now. Thank you so much for coming on. I will see you next week, right, at SAS?
Absolutely. I can't wait.
I will be at SAS. We're going to do a massive special. The time is going to change. It's going to be 10 p.m. roughly Eastern Standard Time next week on Thursday at SAS. We're going to bring